MMA is increasing in popularity, but the majority of people involved with the sport, including commentators,
and has been in control for a giant chunk, like a solid minute plus. Yeah.
Still don't understand the rules. They don't understand the scoring criteria for MMA. So in this video, I'm going to clarify some of those scoring criteria and talk about 3 of the biggest misconceptions people seem to have about them. Let's jump right into it. So if we want to find the rules used for the UFC, what the judging criteria are, we gotta just go to the Unified Rules of Mixed Martial Arts. That's essentially the Bible if we're trying to figure out how we score fights. And now here we are with the rules. These of course get updated. So some of you guys might remember at the end of 2024, they put in some changes for like the 12-6 elbows. They made those legal. Then I guess the language in here was also amended in 2025. So yeah, these get changed regularly, but for the most part, they stay somewhat consistent. And this section right here, judging criteria, is what we're looking for in terms of scoring fights. So here, it tells you about how you have to score fights with the 10-point scoring system, and then it talks about how things like effective grappling and effective aggressiveness and control the fighting area get factored in. So right off the bat, we come to the first big misconception, one that drives me nuts, and that is forward pressure is essentially just a tiebreaker if effective striking and grappling are considered to be even. It does not supersede the effective striking and grappling. So really we just have to read this section here, C. Judges shall evaluate mixed martial arts techniques such as effective striking, grappling, which is plan A, effective aggressiveness, plan B, and control of the fighting area, plan C. And look at this big sentence down here. Plans B and C are not taken into consideration unless plan A is weighed as being even. So there you go. It drives me nuts when people complain all the time about, oh, why didn't such and such win the fight? They were moving forward the whole time. Or, oh, how did such and such win this fight when they were just moving backwards the whole time? Of course, we saw this with the Sean Strickland-Khamzat Chimaev title fight. So many people were complaining that Strickland won. Like, oh, how can you win if you're moving back? Fighters complained about that. Fans complained about that. Super frustrating. But you have to know, unless effective striking and grappling are considered to be equal, aggressiveness, control of the fighting area, the forward pressure, it all means nothing. It's only a tiebreaker if effective striking and grappling are considered to be equal. So in effect, plan B, which is the effective aggressiveness, and then plan C, which is control of the fighting area, those are just ancillary. They mean nothing unless the effective striking and grappling are equal. So that means if a fighter's off the back foot and they're just, jabbing somebody up, piecing them up, creating all sorts of damage, they're probably going to win the fight. If they're out damaging their opponent, it doesn't matter that they're backing up the whole time. They're doing the more effective striking. So they win the rounds. Plain and simple. Forward pressure does not get weighed against effective striking and grappling. It's only a tiebreaker. And a lot of times, even the commentators don't understand this. They'll be like, oh, but so-and-so, you got to factor in all this forward pressure. No, they don't, because the effective striking and grappling is not equal in most cases. You only factor in aggressiveness, control of the fighting area, if striking and grappling are equal. But how do we know what effective striking and grappling is? Well, that's where we got to move down to this other section here. You see it lists the 3 Ds, the big criteria to help us figure out what effective striking and grappling are. So first we got damage here, then we got dominance, and then the third one is going to be duration. I want to talk about damage because I think a lot of fans have caught on to the fact that damage is one of the main scoring criteria, and that has to be factored in the fights really more so than most other things. So of course we understand that damage can occur when visible evidence such as swelling and lacerations are caused. You see that's listed right there. If someone's getting bloodied up, that'd be damage. If their eyes swollen shut, that's damage. So visible damage is a big thing, but the definition of damage is pretty broad. So that's the second misconception I think people have, is that the definition of damage in the scoring criteria is much broader than people think, and it can include things like sapping your opponent's energy, making them more tired. Let's look at what it says here. Damage shall also be assessed when a fighter's actions using striking and or grappling lead to a diminishing of their opponent's energy, confidence, abilities, and spirit. So that's very interesting because they specifically mention grappling as well. So imagine someone's incorporating some grappling, just dogging their opponent, kind of like how Merab dogs his opponents, just, wearing on him, breaking him down. Even if he's not causing a lot of visible damage, not landing malicious ground and pound, even if he's not necessarily going for submission attempts, if he's tiring his opponent out to the point that it looks like they don't even want to be there, to the point that they don't even want to fight back. I mean, look at that. He's sapping their energy, and he might be making them too tired to fight back, sapping their abilities, and definitely sapping their spirit. So I think that's one thing people don't understand. If you're using grappling to just wear on somebody, drain all their energy, make them not want to be there, then you can be earning credit. The definition of damage is so broad, because it's not just talking about striking here, it's also mentioning grappling. If this just said striking, okay, that'd be one thing, but if you can diminish an opponent's energy, confidence, abilities, and spirit with grappling, then yeah, you can earn credit. So there are a lot of ways you can do well in the judge's eyes in a mixed martial arts contest. All sorts of things you can do. And personally, I like that because it allows fighters to display a wide range of martial arts. Now, if you're just holding somebody, obviously, and nothing's really happening, not really getting drained, and the person holding isn't really doing anything, then yeah, that's not something we'd score. And that brings me to the third point. We got to go down to the dominance section here. So in the past, control time, I believe, was mentioned in the scoring criteria, holding someone in a position. Third misconception that I can't stand: you can earn credit from control time. No, control time in and of itself is meaningless. So that's one thing that people still, I don't think, have quite down, although things have gotten better. Look at this. Merely holding a dominant position shall not be a primary factor in assessing dominance. What the fighter does with those positions is what must be assessed. So if you're not doing anything, all you're doing is just laying on top of somebody, not working forward, not trying to advance position, not trying to use submission attempts or strikes, and essentially that's what you have to do to earn credit through dominance. Talking about how dominance in the grappling phase can be seen by a fighter staking dominant positions in the fight and utilizing those positions to attempt fight-ending submissions or attacks. So to get credit in the dominance criterion, you have to be trying to cause the end of a fight with submission attempts or with attacks or strikes. But if you're just holding the person down, doesn't matter if you control them for 3 minutes. If you control somebody for 3 minutes but don't do anything that can be considered damage or dominance, you're not advancing positions, you don't get diddly squat. Maybe you just get the duration piece a little bit, because that's defined by the time spent by one fighter effectively attacking, controlling, and impacting their opponent, while the opponent offers little or no offensive output. But it's going to be very small if someone actually does damage on the feet. So if someone's damaging a fighter and then gets controlled for 3 minutes but nothing happens, the fighter who did the damage for 2 minutes is going to win the round. The control time pretty much goes out the window. So to recap, judges evaluate mixed martial arts techniques on the basis of effective striking and grappling, effective aggressiveness, and control of the fighting area, but effective striking and grappling is more important than the other two criteria, because if effective striking and grappling are not equal, then we don't even consider effective aggressiveness and control of the fighting area, because we only use those last two as tiebreakers. And then when we're trying to figure out effective striking and grappling, we use the 3Ds. Damage, it's a lot more inclusive than people think it is. It's not just hurting your opponent per se. It's not just causing visible damage. If you're doing things that make your opponent not even want to be there, diminish their spirit, energy, and confidence, then yeah, you can still assess damage with those factors. And if you're looking to just hold somebody, sure, you might get some of the duration piece, but not the damage and dominance. Holding somebody, just controlling them, isn't inherently that meaningful for dominance and damage, so it means essentially nothing in terms of scoring fights. And people often say too many times control time should be factored into scoring fights, but relatively it's pretty meaningless. So now if you hear anybody talking nonsense about the judging criteria or complaining that a fight didn't go a certain way, do me a favor and tell them they're an idiot. Refer them to the official MMA rules, the unified rules of mixed martial arts. And then now that you understand these a little bit better, you can get really annoyed when the commentators for UFC show that they don't even understand the rules of the sport. If you guys found this video helpful, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Also leave me a comment. Let me know what you think is the most annoying misconception people have about scoring MMA fights. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.